Well, I shot a video of one of the cars that came into my facility this week, and I just want to do just a little bit of a pre-introduction on it um, before which I'll show the video. I also have one picture I want to add in here too at the beginning, but when the cars arrived, I went out, they had arrived that night, and so I went and inspected them the next morning, and I noticed some issues. And I documented them, but I couldn't film them. I had to wait for the company that moves my cars to move it off the main line and put it down on a separate siding. So I waited for that, and then I came back. Once they had left the yard and put the engine away, I went and put a blue sign on the east end of the ladder. And all I did is I just took a picture of it. It is about as far east as I could go before I got to the switch. So the first thing you'll see will be just a picture of the blue sign, and then I'll go into the video. So here's the picture in the video. Today's date is October the 12th. 2022. Cars came in last night. This morning I did an initial car inspection, and we are working on car number TEAX 410, and this is how the car arrived to me. So notice that, and then when you remove this broken laggard, look at that. Clamps are missing. This car came out of the shop in 2020. So maybe it left the shop with those missing, maybe not. But you can see where the last little bit of weld survived. And so I'm going to take care of that today. I've sent some emails in, but what I'm going to do for now is I'm going to go ahead and put a 1075. I'm going to stick one on here. I'll take another video when I go show you the corrections I've made. You can see here the plate C on this side is very, very faded. So I've got a new one I'm going to put on there. I'll do this video in about probably 3 different parts because I got to get on the other side of the car, but take a look at that. Notice anything not quite right? The non-odorized is the right height. The liquefied petroleum gas is not. The letters are too short. It's the wrong font. They're not tall enough. So I'm going to put new decals over the top of the liquefied petroleum gas. And here's a half-ass cobbled up mess. I'll clean that up a little bit, but there's not a lot else I'm going to do to it. But like I said, I'll clean it up a little bit. And I got a couple more defects to show on the other side of the car. Well, here we are on the other side. Same thing. They use the same size decal, so the letters are technically not tall enough. And then the next problem is actually a combination of problems. Let me see if I can get this. See that spring hanging down? The spring's not broken. The other end is there. Yeah, you can see it. The other end of the hook is there. It just came loose, and it's allowed that chain to drag on the axle. And I believe I was told anyway that you can have wear on this. It just can't be more than, I can't even reach it, 40-50%. It's got wear, but it's not very bad. It's matter of fact, there you can see it. I turned the chain. You can see the wear there on the right hand side of the big link. So we got that to deal with, and then I was looking around and see this cotter pin? That cotter pin is backing itself out. I could fix it. I could tap it back in and bend it, but with the other problems in here, I'm just going to forward this to NS Mechanical, and I'll let them deal with all of this stuff. Even got, don't know how crucial that is or isn't, but probably not a deal breaker. It just goes to show little problems are getting away from them on this car. And also, there's a build date. Here it is. October of 1980. This car is 42 years old. I'll see if I can find where it says in the code, but I believe the service life on a propane rail car is 40 years, 40. So, like I said, I'm going to replace some of these decals, upgrade them, and then I'll just shoot another short video just documenting what I did. Okay, I got this side done for liquefied petroleum gas. The letters underneath there, I measured them. They are 2 3/4 inches tall, so too short. Technically, these here, the non-odorized, were 3.8 inches. So I suppose technically they're not up to code either, but I didn't feel like changing them. I think they're going to pass, but you can see the difference. And here's the 1075. I got that on. I'm going to stop this video, move to the other side of the car, show you the rest of the other side. All right, here's the north side. And I just now beat the rain. That's good. There's a new plate C. And we'll head down here. Got the new liquefied petroleum gas. And then all I did for this placard holder is I just put some black Gorilla tape on it. It's the only side that was where the spot welds were coming loose. It's still tape, but it just doesn't look as shitty as that gray tape looked. So it's good enough for me. So thank you. There were quite a few little things, nothing overly major, but a lot of little things going on with that car. So, as I mentioned in the video, I did take pictures and forwarded those pictures in an email to Norfolk Southern. It's your report to, it's called NS Logistics. It used to be NS Customer Service, now it's NS Logistics. So that's the email address I send everything to, so I just add the pictures to that email and then a brief description of the car number and everything, what it was. And so that's forwarded up to them. Now it's up to them to arrange mechanical to come out and deal with it. And the lettering, the broken placard holder, and then the other damaged placard holder was just coming apart. You know, it's all, it's just a lot of little things. And then that placard holder was hiding the fact that the clamps, half of the clamps holding the airlines in place that were gone, had been gone for God only knows how long. It's just things to document, things to keep track of. Because I already had the decals, I went ahead and replaced the liquefied petroleum gas on both sides, and then I had put the adhesive 1075 on that end. I'll leave that up to Norfolk Southern if they want to bolt on a new placard holder. Certainly can't weld one on. Shop would have to do that. But Norfolk Southern, if they so desire, they can bolt on a different holder someplace else. So I'll leave that up to them. Same thing with that little pin that came out, and the same thing with that spring. Yeah, I can reattach that spring. I can drive that pin back in. Not going to. It arrived that way. All that stuff just needs to be reported, and then it's somebody else's problem. But just trying to protect myself in that. In some of the recent training that I had, went over a few items. One of them is lettering. Whatever stenciling is on the car needs to match the wording on your inbound and outbound BOLs. An example, one of the most common little things that we run into is, how is liquefied spelled? How's it spelled on the car? Well, if you go into 49 CFR 172.101, go to that table, and then you look down in that table for petroleum gas, liquefied petroleum gas. That's how it's spelled, is that. I've had cars come in, brand new cars just out of the shop, having brand new decals, and it's spelled with an I. If I was in the school or writing a paper, nobody would care if I spelled it with an I or an E, but when my BOL has it spelled with an E, technically that is no longer in compliance. Not a great big deal. Just something, if you run across that, take a picture of it, send it to whoever supplies you with your cars. Just put them on notice, and they can work something out with the car owner to get it done. I've also had cars come straight out of the shop where it says liquefied propane gas instead of liquefied petroleum gas. Technically, that car contains liquefied propane gas, but that is not how my BOL was worded. And when you get into 49 CFR and you get into the table, there's no category for liquefied propane gas. It's liquefied petroleum gas. So, same thing. Take a picture of it, document it, forward it up. Maybe they're going to decide they want to send an MRU out to change the lettering. I could have done it with that car, but I already had the lettering, and it was just, to me at the time, I just thought it was the easiest, best thing to do was just deal with it and take care of it. I mentioned also in that video about an age restriction on cars. I read a few years ago about a 40-year time limit lifespan on propane cars, and for the life of me, I thought I saved it. I couldn't find it, and I've been looking for it. Well, what I found, and what the frustrating thing is what I found was in the AAR, Association of American Railroads, specifications for tank cars M1002. The only copy I've got is dated 2000. I found another document, an updated version, a 2018 version. Not saying that's the most accurate, or it's just the only one I could come across. So I wanted to share that with you, what I found across. What it really stems from, as I've been able to figure it out, is that cars built before July of 1974, once they hit about 40 years, they're no longer good for interchange service, to where Norfolk Southern can drop off, Canadian National could pick up, or Wheeling and Erie could drop off, and then Norfolk Southern could pick up. It's not good for that unless it goes through certain certification steps. Cars built after that date are built to a different standard, and they fall under different guidelines. So I just wanted to read, and this isn't technically, this really doesn't have anything to do when it comes to offloading a car. To me, it's just nice to know. I like to try to understand as best I can. So if I'm wrong here, about a car being for 40 years or whatever, at the end of the day, a car shows up. If it's safe to offload, I need to offload it, and then can notify other people about any changes that needs to be done. But I did want to read off here section or chapter 1, 1.3.10, age limits. And this is what it says here. There is no life limit on a tank car tank if the tank conforms to both the federal regulations and the AAR requirements. Underframes built prior to July 1, 1974 have an AAR life limit of 40 years unless the underframe is rebuilt or has received extended service status. Underframes built since July 1, 1974 have an AAR life limit of 50 years. When applying a tank to a new or existing underframe, the tank car committee must approve the application. After applying a tank to a new or existing underframe, the tank must be qualified to verify tank integrity. So, I was probably part right about the 40 year, but in the overall, mostly wrong. But I just thought that was interesting, and it's so difficult for me to track this stuff down. That took me hours to get tracked down. Like I said, I really struggle when it comes to federal regulation stuff. And so that's why when I had that training from Alan Budleski, I found it so beneficial. So anyway, I hope you found that interesting about some of those problems I found on that car on the initial ground inspection, and I hope this helps. Thank you.